Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Life Unfiltered. Phoenix doing something.
Yeah, I'm gonna quit writing notes and just leave this screen up. I was trying to write more notes. My grandson broke my glasses. Yeah,
Oh,
so I don't have my glasses. So
hey,
uh,
Bill.
I'm actually doing pretty good tonight. I can still read without it getting really blurry from my fatigue and stuff. So, but I have not replaced my glasses yet. So yeah, that was a real treat when he was here.
Oh, you and Tammy and glasses, I'll tell you.
Well, I'd had him for a while, like a year. I
Yeah,
mean, they should last longer, but fortunately, it was a cheap $10 pair of glasses. I just haven't gone back to the store to replace them. So I was just trying to finish some notes because I've been taking notes, taking a break from the screen, going back, and
right.
you
Well,
know,
that's like Tammy, she had the eye surgery on both eyes, and she went back and she needed the glasses she's got. She only has to wear them at night when she's driving or when she's got to read a lot.
okay,
And have them a week, and the lens spill out, and I'd put it back in, and as soon as she'd put them on, it'd fall out again. I'm like, there's something wrong with this damn lens.
yeah,
So she took them back over there. They took the screw out and everything, put the lens in, put a new screw in, said, there you go. And I'll be damned if she didn't get home and the damn lens fell out again.
hmm,
And I'm like, we're done with that eye company. I can tell you that right now.
yeah, yep. It hasn't been that bad for me, and I don't know how my grandson broke them because they were on the coffee table. I got up to run back here real quick, and when I went back, they were in the doorway between the living room and dining room, and he stepped on them. They were on the floor, and he stepped on them. He broke them, like broke
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And I'm like, how did they go from the coffee table to the floor way over here? Of course, the I didn't do it. Ghost moved
Oh,
them.
yeah. Yeah. That's the little
What
kid.
is Bill saying to go to? I can't. Uh,
NoKings.org.
yeah, yeah. I've seen the Bill. If you're talking about the riots coming up all over, I've
Oh, I
seen
know. I've
quite a
been
bit.
watching some of my guys that been covering it and everything, and
Oh,
it's totally ridiculous out there.
yeah. Now, if I get right in front of the comments, I can read them. My screen's side kind of sideways, and that way it's
I mean, Newsom and that damn mayor of LA need to be kicked out of this country.
hmm,
I Ruth. I mean, they're not wanting to do anything for their state. So the
right.
people out there, if anybody's listening from California, your next election, make sure you don't get Newsom reelected and don't get that mayor in LA reelected because you guys are getting screwed out there bad.
It's amazing to me that they keep saying that we're deporting Americans. There aren't any Americans that have been deported. You can't deport Americans.
Right.
Now,
I know.
if you are here with a visa or something that way, the visa can be revoked for
Hmm.
certain reasons. Um, but if you are American, you cannot be deported.
No, but there's some, if there's
Oh,
Americans in there that was doing some of the burning and the looting,
hmm,
in my opinion, there ought to be a law made that we could deport them and take their citizenship away
yeah. Well,
because they're breaking the law in so many different ways
right,
and supporting something that is illegal in this country. You know,
right.
these illegals and everything. And the ones walking around with the Mexican flag, I
Mhm.
would say probably 95% of them are here illegally.
What I have been seeing on a lot of videos, where they are talking to people on the street, a lot of them are not illegal. They are born in America to illegal parents
Right,
whose parents are still illegal here. And, it kind of makes sense, that if their parents or grandparents are here illegally, well, they don't want their family deported. They
right,
want them to stay here.
right.
They're not going to see the problem in it because that is their parents. And if they're born here, they're going to get to vote and do all that. So, that's part of the problem I have with all this um, mess about, if you come over illegally and just give birth, your child's just a citizen and here because their loyalty in many cases is not going to be to America.
No,
And we're seeing proof of that right now because they're burning the American flag and flying the Mexican, or I've seen the Colombian flag too.
right.
Um, Predominantly, I've seen the Mexican flag, but where does that state their loyalty is? And what a lot of them are saying is that it's not even necessarily, like some of the news outlets are trying to say it's also against Trump and all this. But what a lot of these people on the streets are saying is no, California belongs to Mexico and it was stolen. So they don't see their parents and grandparents, etc., as illegals because they're on their land that was stolen. So they are on their land and that America needs to give it back. So they don't consider themselves doing anything wrong by coming over. They're like, America needs to give California back. We're on our own land.
Hey, give it back to them. We can do without California. I don't have a problem with that and everything. That makes oceanfront property in Arizona real popular. You know what I mean? And stuff. But if they keep on going like that, and Newsom and that mayor out there, yeah, it wouldn't bother me
Yes.
one bit if California stops because guess what? They're going to starve.
Mhm.
All the meat that they get comes from the Midwest here around Kansas City and Kansas. Because when
Mhm.
I drove over the road, I hauled many a loads out there and
Right.
stuff. Yeah, they've got some ranches, a few ranches out there, but not enough to support all the people they have out
Right.
there. Now, we may lose a lot of our produce that's grown out there because they would charge a high price to ship it back in here. But I have no problem if California wanted to pull away.
Um, all right. So I pulled up the Fifth Amendment because that's what they're using to say that we are illegally deporting people. And that's where it gets tricky, I guess, on who is interpreting this, even with the Supreme Court, because it says no person shall be held to answer for any capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. However, pretty much everything in the Constitution is talking about citizens.
Mm-hmm.
These are our protections, and those who come over legally who are subject to our jurisdiction. If
Right.
you come over illegally, you're not subject to our jurisdiction.
You're not a citizen of the United States.
Right.
That's why you're not supposed to be here unless you're here on a visa or work permit.
Um, I had something else. Let me see.
But I know today they made a lot of arrests out there.
Hmm. Well, that is not what I was looking for there. Um, yeah, because there's several places in here where in the Constitution and Bill of Rights where they are very clearly stating, basically the citizens, who are subject to our jurisdiction.
Right.
So, it's baffling that Kilmar Abrego Garcia guy is a Maryland man and they're calling him a citizen. Uh, hello.
Good deal, Bill. You're getting your tractor back.
In here. Yep, you're gonna have to go by the camera.
Uh-oh. By the camera.
You're gonna have to go by the camera. Trying to say
Oh, there he is. There's Mr. Ken.
How you doing today?
Doing great, Ken.
Yeah, Alex in the shower now.
okay.
Oh,
Okay. So I don't know. Just the narrative that they keep pushing out, it's baffling to me.
it's
I'll tell you so
yeah,
like,
their narrative, you know,
ah,
you're allowed to protest.
right.
You're not allowed to block city streets, block interstates, loot, steal, burn vehicles, all that.
Attack people.
Yes, attack police officers' vehicles with concrete, shoot commercial fireworks. We're not talking your everyday fireworks out here. We're talking commercial fireworks there. And then burning all those self driven taxi cabs out there.
Right.
Yeah. Did you see the pictures of them whenever they was putting them out, how far they burnt down?
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
what got me was I thought
You froze up, Carl. Well, looks like it might be an interesting night.
them
Um,
were all electric cars. Why did
you froze up for a
okay?
while. We couldn't hear you.
I know my internet went way down. I don't know why.
Okay.
I've got fiber. It shouldn't be going down.
Yeah, we have fiber too.
Mm.
So yeah, we missed a little bit of what you were saying.
What I was saying was those cabs out there, those self-driven cabs that were they set on fire. They're electric vehicles. Why didn't them lithium batteries explode?
Yeah, they were doing a lot of that during the hurricane in Florida. We were seeing all kinds of stuff.
Right. But
So
that out there, that first night out there, man, that was bad, and it just got worse. Imagine all them people out on the interstate that was affected by the backup.
mhm.
how many of them just wanted to drive their car right through it?
Right. I'm going to pull this up real quick since Ruth had messaged me today and brought it
Okay.
up. I shared a little bit with you, so I wanted to address that real quick. Let me see.
Okay, Bill.
What do you say?
Oh, he was telling me about his tractor.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, 101 closed for 20 minutes. Yep.
Wow. Okay. Let me see.
What are you pulling up now?
All right. So Ruth had messaged me earlier today,
Uh-huh.
sharing something stating that Walmart was funding the riots. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit. I have only been looking into that for a few hours, since she messaged. But so far, I cannot find anything linking money going to the riots. What I have found and been able to corroborate is the ad she took out um, in newspapers, magazines, etc., um, talking about the No Kings, stuff on June 14th. So she is a supporter of it, but everything is stating that this has nothing to do with Walmart. This is her personal views and having nothing to do with Walmart. That Walmart is a company, which, from what I'm understanding, she is not even controlling yet. She is an heiress, but she's not in control of yet.
Right.
But this is a personal view. Um, yeah, I've got it pulled up, Ruth. She put Christy Walton in there. Um, but she did put a statement. Let me see. I'm trying to find where it is here. Basically, she's just saying, things we honor our commitments and stand by our allies. We defend against aggression by dictators, and we respect our neighbors and trading partners, etc. Um, so she's very definitely supporting, the protests and stuff. Um, and then on the Republican side, they are stating that to them, that is showing that they are financially supporting, that Walmart as a company is financially supporting the protests and riots and all that. But I can't find anything that supports that. So I want to be very careful that I don't come on here and say
Right.
that
So
it's
we can
happening.
find the money trail.
Right. Um, we got to make sure that we're as factual as possible. So I do find where she, at least individually, is very definitely supporting
Right.
it.
But I want to, one
Find the money.
question I want to know, who funded those gas masks that guy was handing out of the back of his truck in cases to
Mhm.
the people?
Right.
Somebody had to buy them.
Yeah. Real quick, I was just gonna say she married into the Walton family. So,
Right.
she's not
She's
she
not
is
blood.
a Walton, but not by right birth or adoption. Um, and then, her husband passed in 2005.
Right.
So they're stating that she holds no position at Walmart, that yes, she is one of the wealthiest women, due to the marriage and
Right.
all that, but she
Due to
has
her shares in the company.
right, yeah, but she
Right.
has no position in Walmart and has no leadership, no decision making or anything. So at this point, I'm not quite sure where everybody is getting that Walmart is funding what's happening in Walmart. And I'm not saying they're not. If somebody out there is watching and has evidence of that or watches the show later, let us know where that is so we
Send
can
us a
find
message
it.
in the comments, and we will look it up.
Right. Yeah. I just can't find the money link between Walmart and what's happening.
No.
So, um,
Yeah, these, you know, you don't call it
okay,
purple. You call it
that's
what?
what I thought, Bill. Bill said there is no evidence of Walmart. Yeah, and like I said, she really doesn't have anything to do with Walmart other than being the widow who has shares from her husband
Right.
prior, since he's deceased.
But
But and she very clearly states on the ads that's her personal view, and they're not the views of Walmart. So
right.
she's very definitely separating herself from Walmart since she has
Right.
no
It's not going on only in LA,
influence. Yeah,
Chicago, New York, they even said Texas now. So there's the four cities right now. It's getting completely out of control.
right. The 14th is when it's supposed to blow up all over the country.
Yeah. Every
And
big city that has all these illegals in them, you're
mhm,
going to see it all over. Probably I'll say within the next 2 weeks, it'll be in every major city
mhm.
because it's over in the UK going on now too.
Right. Well, there's a couple in Canada as well.
Right.
Which I'm like, what does this really have to do with them? That just kind of surprises me that they're going to be protesting across the ocean, what we do. I'm not saying I don't care at all what happens in other countries, but I don't live there. If it
I
doesn't
do.
affect me here, run your country how you see fit for the most part.
I don't
Like,
live in Chicago, New York,
it
uh,
is the one,
San
well,
Antonio, any of those places. So whatever goes down there, I'm not that worried about. But it does affect our country.
right.
That's what I'm worried about. The country, the cities. If they don't want to protect and take care of their own cities, they're on their own.
Mhm.
I feel sorry for the American people that's trying to stay out of it. You know, and everything. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Mike Rage.
Yep.
Yep.
Man, I was going to take a quick break to tell Mike
I
personally.
wish Mike would come on. I bet he's got a lot to say
I'll be
about this
right.
protest.
Jump on, Mike, if you want. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw out there because y'all have heard me say it before about Mike and Tammy with everything I've been going through with the surgery I had. I'm 6 weeks post op today. Today's one of the best days I've had so far. But I'll have a good day and then feel like I'm stepping backwards a little and then a good day. And I can tell I'm progressing overall, but we'll see. But today's been one of the best days. But I got to tell you, since I saw Mike pop up on here, my surgeries, I feel, are small potatoes to a lot of what Tammy has gone through.
Yeah.
But I have such a better understanding of what she has been telling people and seeing what Ken had to go through with me. Oh, hey, Tammy, I'm talking about you and Mike.
Yeah, Tammy. How
I was
you
talking
guys
about your
doing
name
down
popped
there?
up on here. And, I was going to say, just seeing what all Ken had to do. And some of it I'm not going to share on here. But I'm telling you, this man has had to step up in ways that he probably never dreamed he was going to have to, when we got together and got married and stuff. But he did it. I'm going to tell you, sitting down there in Miami and knowing everything I went through mentally, emotionally, physically, some of the humiliation I went through when I was awake enough to understand, you know, how I came through that hotel, you know, after surgery and everything, you know. It just so the first two people I really thought of was Mike and Tammy,
Yeah.
and really understanding what Tammy has gone through. But a lot of times we just look at the person directly going through it and we don't look at the spouses or the children or anybody else who go through it. So I saw Mike's name and I just wanted to give Mike a big shout out because I understand what he must go through to a large degree. And there's a lot of men and women that would not do it for their spouse. And so you know, my heart just went out to both of them because that was my first slap in the face of what they must go through, and all the times I've had them on my show talking or watched them on their podcast. So I just want to take a break from this to get to once again give them a shout out,
Oh
especially
yeah.
when Mike's on here. You know, Mike, my hat's off to you. You know,
Yeah.
I may not understand the entirety, but
Yeah.
much better
We
seeing
missed
what all
both
you
of you, Tammy and Mike, on the
yeah.
podcast and everything, because everything was great. Oh, Mike, now I know Tammy's not that way. She's not a pain.
No,
Have
seriously,
you seen
I
Mike?
love you guys
Have you
and
seen Mike's little buddy? His
what
little goat?
oh, I did, yes.
Yeah, his little goat, his buddy.
That's cute,
Follows
yeah.
him around like a damn dog. But
No, the goat's adorable.
yeah,
Uh, okay, so I'm gonna get off of that because sometimes when I think back to everything, I still get a little bit emotional because when I say the humiliation, y'all just don't understand just how horrific it was. And it wasn't just the surgery. I mean, it was the way they treated me after and realizing I went through that
well,
hotel
the
with
way
my
they
friend.
treated you during
That
and
was
after.
horrible. So I'm gonna move past that and get back on topic because I still got a lot of feelings about that place. I agree, Tammy, because I'll get on my soapbox.
Yeah, we're getting there, Tammy. We're
I
talking
want to
about
go wring some necks. um, but no, I was going to ask. You know, I I don't remember how to do the screen share, but I mean, if I've seen the map all day long, you know, it's all over social
oh yeah.
media. But if it's getting out of hand all over the country, my thoughts are that they're probably going to. Oh yeah, Tammy, very much. um, uh, you know, do you think that they're going to end up calling martial law across the country? You know,
If it,
where do we go from there?
we know it's in 4 of the big cities right now. If it hits 2 more big cities like it's hit LA, the big cities will be under martial law. I don't think rural America, because we don't have that issue up here and stuff. But yeah, I could see them putting martial law into effect.
Yeah. I'm looking at Kentucky right now.
I mean, you look at the riots out there in California when Rodney King, the whole deal with Rodney King and stuff. It got wild. Look at the ones in Ferguson, Missouri that happened down there. It got real close to being called martial law in that town.
Yeah. Timmy says Oklahoma has awesome new laws against
Oh,
protesters
really?
protecting their citizens. Awesome.
That's
I,
good.
I think we're screwed in
You
Kentucky.
know, that brings up a good topic right there. Okay. Oklahoma has awesome new laws against protesters. These out in LA, I don't call them protesters. I call them rioters.
Right, they are.
Protesters, you say your piece and everything and do it. You're not out there burning vehicles, throwing concrete, firing commercial fireworks, breaking into the businesses and looting. That's rioters, is what that is, not protesters.
Right.
So,
Yep. I
yeah,
agree.
there's a big line between that word protester and rioter.
Mhm.
And out there, and what I've seen in Chicago and New York, they've all crossed that line into the rioters.
Uh, now I've seen quite a few videos that people are putting out. Um, there we go. Had to get it back on dark mode. That helps. Um, sorry guys. Sometimes I'm having issues reading. I've got to get reading glasses again. My grandson broke mine, so um, but Carl sitting over there laughing at me.
Yeah.
Um, but what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. You start laughing at me here.
You're right, Mike. Government just needs to make an example, but we
Oh
don't
yeah.
have that faith in our government right now enough to do that and stuff.
Oh, what I was
I
saying is
mean,
I've seen quite a few videos where people are pulling up Craigslist ads where they're reaching out looking for people um, to go to these protests, and they're offering to help relocate people to LA. Right now, the ads I've been seeing are for LA, um,
hmm
and paying 6,500 to 12,000 plus, depending on how crazy and well, the ad says badass you act out there.
right,
Um, So, we know it was coordinated. BLM was coordinated and funded. Um, so I have no doubt this is too. You know, and I agree with what Mike said. They need to make an example out of them. This can't be accepted
but
and tolerated.
the police, the National Guard, and all them, even the Marines, have their hands tied right at the moment and stuff. Yeah, they are making some arrests, but the military knows how to scatter them people real quick.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. Um, yeah, I think. I know there's a lot of talk right now over whether Trump's going to um, use the insurrection act or not. I don't know. I think it's going to have to get pretty out of hand all
Right,
over before that happens. So,
right. But yeah, it's bad. But what Newsom and that mayor, whatever the hell her name is, it escapes me right at the moment, and I don't care. Uh, they just need to get the hell out of the country because they ain't doing a damn thing for their state.
right.
Last I heard, what was it? California filed a lawsuit against Trump administration over this
Mhm.
shit. That's stupid. If the president's got to do something, if your governor and the mayor of a gigantic city like LA isn't going to do anything, just like they didn't do anything when the fires broke out there. This is strike two against them.
Right.
Karen Bass, right, Bill. Thanks for reminding me. It's a lady I want to forget about, but anyway, yeah, she's ridiculous. Oh, the military shouldn't be here. It'll just escalate everything. No, military's here to help get it under damn control.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Right,
agree,
Tammy?
Tammy. Yeah. She
I mean,
says, why is it when something is happening in government, riots break out at the same time?
yeah.
Distraction. Yeah.
Well, the riots are breaking out and everything because the Democrats are all for the illegal stand in the country.
Mhm.
And the Democrat Party right now is falling completely apart. They don't have a leg to stand on. So
Right.
they're trying to do all this while Trump's in office, Republicans are in office, to make them look bad.
Mhm.
Well, got news for them. It's going to come out a little different from what they think. Because if we start bringing more regular military in on American soil, that's an issue right
Right.
there.
Yeah. Bill says oh, blah, blah, getting tongue tied. The Marines can walk with the National Guard, but that's about all they can do right now is try to
Yeah,
um,
the Marines can
protect
work with the
the
National
police.
Guard. Yeah,
There's not much more they can do than that.
no. I like the picture I seen on X watching a YouTube video where they had the traffic all blocked up, right?
Mhm.
Here's a Marine tank sitting in the middle of the traffic jam. Couldn't get
Mhm.
to the riots. They were stuck in traffic.
Well, I think here in Kentucky, we've got Andy Bashir, and he was one of the governors that was being considered to run for vice president with Kamala.
Hmm.
I was like, oh dear God. I mean, as much as I want to get rid of him here in Kentucky, it wouldn't do much good if he just goes to the White House. So, man, you know, I was praying hard, but I think that, and maybe it is, and I just don't know. So y'all let me know. But I think that it should be. I think it's against the law in every state to block traffic and do certain things like that. But we should be able to get out of our vehicles, and clear the roadway, without fear of criminal charges against us, like, some if I've got to get my kid to the hospital or to school or whatever, it shouldn't matter where I need to go. You don't have the right to block my car and keep me trapped there for hours.
Right.
I should
Well,
be able
that's just
to get out
like
and
I
drive
said.
the
Did,
road.
did you see that video where, they were shooting smoke grenade, hand grenade, or smoke grenades and rubber bullets, right? Well, one of the rubber bullets hit a woman in the head. So the cops went over there and they were putting bandages on it. The people filming it are going, well, can't you call an ambulance? And that cop turns around and said, right, look what you caused. You think an ambulance is going to get in here?
Right.
Well, can't you do something to do it? Well, we're trying.
Hmm.
So anyway,
I like.
the cop turned around to the people and said, why don't you be a good Samaritan and help this woman and get her to a hospital?
Hmm.
Well, finally, five Samaritans came over and picked her up to get her out of there and everything. But I was like, you idiot. You caused all this. How in the hell are you going to get an ambulance in here?
Right.
They're lucky to get fire trucks in there.
Yeah. I like Tammy's comment. She said, I kind of wish it would get out of hand. Then the military can come and F shit up and teach those liberals a lesson.
Yep.
IFO. I agree. We've had small protests in my little town, and Ken will come home from work. They always wait till everybody's going home from work, and then you'll see them gather in front of the courthouse. It's just a small group, but I'm part of the Facebook group for my town, for the moms in this little town. And it amazes me how many people are supporting this stuff. And part of the reason I moved to this little town is because it had always been a very conservative area. And I lived in Lexington, and I watched some of the school board meetings and things that were being talked about that was coming in the school system, and just everything with it. And I was like, no way. So we moved to what was supposed to be a conservative area. And
Mike says 37 people have already died in California due to these riots.
oh, wow. And seeing the news is saying nobody's died. They're comparing it to January 6th and saying, well, nobody's died, unlike January 6th. I'm like, the only person that actually died on January 6th was Ashley Babbitt.
Mm-hmm.
The officers that died, they didn't die from January 6th. So I don't know. Oh yeah, I don't watch mainstream media,
No.
but you still hear things. People post things. Yeah, that was like somebody else. I was telling you before we went live that somebody had messaged me about something, and I was like, no, I'm pretty accurate on this. And she was like, I offered to send videos, and she's like, don't send me anything from mainstream media. And like I told you, Carl, I said, I've been on here 3+ years. When have I ever based anything on mainstream media? I don't even watch it. That doesn't
Nope.
mean I don't see clips from something here and there from different sources or things being talked about. I don't watch mainstream media. I haven't watched mainstream media for years. But yeah, it was amazing because I'm like, yeah, that and it wasn't you, Timmy. But it just really showed that this lady, you know, really didn't pay attention to the shows for as much as she supposedly watched.
Right.
Yeah, it's terrible, Tammy. And of course, they fired. I can't think of his name now, but he went on some trunk derangement thing and got fired. What was it? ABC News.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it still doesn't make a difference to me because it's still all
Right.
one-sided. And if you track down who owns mainstream media, they're all married and owned by the same people. I mean, it might be this person owns ABC, but they married so-and-so who's the brother of so-and-so who owns MSNBC or whatever, but it's all basically owned by the same group of people,
Right.
which also explains why it sounds like somebody wrote down a script and just passed it out to everybody and they just regurgitate the same thing. Nobody has an original thought, literally it just seems like they're reading from a script. Exactly. They're all related.
Right.
Like literally, they are all related. I mean, I've looked through the family tree and who owns what. They are literally all related, either by birth or marriage or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. Bill had brought up. Where's your comment, Bill? Right, Bill. Where's your comment?
Which one?
He brought up California and
Lewis Harms.
yes.
It's right here on the screen.
There it is. Okay. See, I'm gonna have to replace my glasses.
Yeah. We're going to look him up and find out more about him.
I'm gonna write his name down. Um, no, I've been watching.
Tammy, you're headed out. Stay on here for a couple minutes. I'm going to show you what I've been doing here lately for this last weekend. So we're going to take a pause from politics real quick so Tammy can see this and Phoenix can see it. This was our first event. Welcome to the Farmers Market in Gallatin, Missouri on Saturday. So they're all doing that. They're doing some stuff over here. So got a few vendors out here. But this is what we wanted to show you. Welcome to the dinner bus, the food truck. I mean, we got it going. Come and order. We're serving breakfast right now. Food truck. It's not finished painted yet, but it's looking good. Show you some more pictures of it. There it is. Got the generator going. We got more painting to do on it. But this is the first event. Check us out on the dinner bus on Facebook. If you have an event or catering needed, contact us on the Facebook. Thank you. We'll show you the inside before I shut this down. This is something unique. As we come in, look, you have a dining area and a dining area to order and the cooking area back there. So come check us out. We're at the farmers market here in Gallatin, Missouri.
Awesome.
So there's what we got going on.
Tammy says, "Oh, awesome."
Oh yeah, it was. It was a
Nice.
big deal.
Showed me pictures of the inside, front to back, and it's nice. I'm excited for you guys.
Well, as soon as right now I'm in the process of finishing the painting because it's red, white, and blue, and then stars all over the front end of it
Yeah,
and stuff.
that's
And
awesome.
I mean, we did real good up there for the 4 hours we was up there because it got rained out.
Oh,
We had
okay.
gigantic rainstorm, but
Tammy,
in
if you're
4 hours,
listening, good night.
up there, $500 isn't bad
Right.
in a small town.
Yeah,
So,
that's nice. I'm excited
and
for
we'll
you
be
guys.
going to a lot of places. I even got 2 out-of-state events to go to. One is
Okay.
one is Paragould, Arkansas.
I was gonna ask when you said that. I was gonna ask.
Yep, they're checking on it and everything. I got to check all the health department rules down there and everything to see that one. And then we're heading to Nashville to feed the crew of Relinquishing the Dead, Santiago's thriller movie of The Walking Dead. I wanted a food truck for 20 yesterday now. Yeah, this is done. We built. We've been building this for the last 5 months. Yeah,
I bet Tammy could do great with a food truck.
yeah, she could.
Hmm.
She could. But yeah, this one here, everything, our tenderloin, our smash burgers, pulled pork, brisket, all that went over very good. Oh, don't be jealous, Tammy.
Hey,
If you
Tammy,
want it, we can drive it down to Oklahoma.
I think she should try doing a food truck herself. I honestly think she could do really well with that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm trying to go to Paragould this year too. Um, but it's just gonna be, for the event and back. Last year I was able to go on to
okay,
my.
Tammy, you have a good evening. We need to talk sometime.
All right. Good night, Tammy. Thanks for jumping in.
But
Um,
what was really cool, one more thing on this was when we had the health department come over and check it out, he got out of his vehicle and walked up to it, looked at it, and went, "Oh, this is different." And I went, "Yeah, it's different. Have you ever inspected a food bus?" And he goes, "No, I haven't." So he walked inside and seen the seating area. He goes, "Oh my." And I went, "What?" He goes, "This is going to be a big hit. I can tell you that right now, the seating area." Then he walked back in the kitchen area. He loved the way I created our vents. Instead of going through the ceiling, I went through the side with
right.
6 spans pulling it out. And he really liked that. So he's sitting there filling his paperwork out and goes, "It passed. No problem." So we're good in 3 counties up here. And then the other county we need to go to, he said, "You just contact her and tell her I passed you up here. She'll pass you down there." So,
Yeah. I would like to go to Paragould again. Um, because the time of year I'm not going to be able to go on to Little Rock and see my sister, so I'll probably try to get her to meet me in Paragould. But
right.
um, it'd be great to have the food truck there and be able to order food right there instead of having to leave all the time to go get food.
Yeah, Bill. But
I think that would be awesome. I think a lot of people would really enjoy having that there,
yeah, I do
especially
too.
the vendors.
I mean, especially when you're getting, give you an idea of the prices. A gigantic tenderloin sandwich with a large order of fries for $10.
Oh wow!
You know, nobody complained one bit. We had compliments from everybody, even the
Oh,
people that created the farmers market up here. We're so glad we're the number one on their vendors list right now and stuff.
I'll say I'm a little picky about food, so I'm gonna have to come try it out.
Oh, you're gonna love this. Love it. It's not paper thin tenderloin either. It's got meat in it.
Awesome! I'm
Yeah,
excited.
we don't tenderize it down to where it's paper thin. So,
That's awesome.
and then our
Uh,
seasoning is the original seasoning that came from the original breaded tenderloin that was created in Gilman City, Missouri, where Christine lives up here. She got the recipe.
okay.
So that's what we've been using in there.
I
I
love to
can't
cook.
cook. Bill, I do smoking, I do grilling, I do the griddle. I let Christine do the tenderloins and stuff. But yeah, it's easy.
I love to cook. I need to get back to it.
Yeah, I come
I
up with
think
new
it's great.
ideas on cooking all the time.
Um, so I have a question because
Okay,
we've only got about 35 minutes left.
right.
What screwbig.com?
RealBigGovernment.com.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds like a website. Oh,
All right. I'll pull that up in a minute. No, the reason I was trying to go back to Bill's comment about the guy running for governor, Lewis Hearns, um, is because it reminded me that I wanted to bring up this. So I'm gonna butcher it. Zoran Mom Donnie.
okay.
He is running for mayor of New York, and I wanted to bring him up. Okay, I'll look it up. Thanks, Bill. but I especially wanted to ask Bill his thoughts on what he thinks are the chances that this guy is going to win. And part of what I am having a problem with is not just that he's a diehard socialist, which I am dead set against, um, but I have a problem with people being able to come from other countries and take positions. He was born in Kampala, Uganda. And, a lot of people I know say it shouldn't matter as long as you're here legally and, you can't run for president, but you can be mayor, you can be governors, you can be congressmen, senators, you can hold all those positions, and all of those positions can change the face of our country.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a problem with that because how many of these people are bringing stuff in that are not American values?
A lot of people.
Probably, Bill. But do you think that this guy, I mean, they're saying he's gaining a whole lot of traction. I'm not a fan of Cuomo, but this guy, I mean, if I lived in New York and my options were this guy or Cuomo, sadly, I'm gonna have to say I'd have to throw a vote behind Cuomo because there's nothing that this guy has said that I can get behind. And it's not, just the fact that he's from Uganda. My mom lives in Uganda, and there's a lot of good people over there. So, no, I don't think you should be able to come from other countries and take certain positions here. But, um, none of his policies or anything I can get behind. See, that's what I'm seeing, Bill, is that it looks like he really does have a good chance of winning. And
Mm-hmm.
especially because all you have to do is promise people all the free stuff that he's offering and not, how many people up there are sitting back and asking themselves if it's free, how is it free? It's really not.
No.
Um, I don't know. I mean, he's offering free daycare to everybody, free city buses, the grocery stores. Carl, have you heard about that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, phew. Okay, hold on. Let me fill you in. You're going to love this. He doesn't really want private owned grocery stores and all that. He wants them to be city owned.
Really?
Yes, he wants them to be city owned, where he says they can control the prices and make it affordable for everybody.
He's
Which,
just
I gotta say, as
he's
the
just a
person,
dictator is all he is.
right, I would say, as the person who buys the groceries in my house, it's part of why I Grubhub. I Grubhub for my nails, or if I want a new piece of furniture, Ken's not going to buy me all the living room sets I've gone through. Trust me, we won't get into that.
Right.
Everybody would croak if they knew, but I get bored. And if I don't like my living room and I want to change it, I've got my own money. But if I go to Ken and say, hey, I want a new living room set, he's going to be like, no. So, that's my money to do with whatever. But I also buy the bulk of the groceries, we'll buy if we run out of milk or something. But as the person who buys the groceries or anything else that way, does it sound great to hear low prices and stuff? Well, yeah, I like that, but I
Everybody.
also know what's attached to it. So if I have my choices of what all he's proposing, even with the grocery stores versus where I am now, I'm going to have to stay where I am.
Hmm.
You know, it's kind of scary because I think if he gets into office, it's going to open even more doors. And there's all kinds of videos out of a lot of these Muslim leaders saying that their goal is within the next 4 to 5 years to have well over half of all government offices, mayor, Congress, Senate, governor, all these, offices, majority, Muslim and, or socialist, you know, um, and change the whole face of the country. So
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just really scary. Let me catch up with what Bill said. Uganda, no, yeah, Uganda's in North Africa, right?
Right. Yeah, the Big
Uh,
Apple is dying a slow death.
yeah, yeah, Uganda. I found that out. Like I said, my mom moved to Uganda in 2018. And and this guy went from Uganda. I've got him pulled up here, but he went to school in somewhere in South Africa too for a while. It's got all that on here. Um, but it amazed me. I mean, there's a lot of bad people, and my mom's run into plenty of them too. But it amazed me how many people are so good to her in Uganda, and she laughs. She says, "All these people." What are you doing? Okay. Um, my daughter. I didn't even hear her come in.
I
Uh,
seen her come in around the corner. I was like, okay.
Bill says he would live in Uganda. I don't know. I've seen enough of what my mom's gone through that I'm like, you could maybe talk me into going for a month, but I would not move there.
No,
Um,
I'll
but
stay in the Midwest, right in rural America, where I'm at.
yeah, yeah. No, she has tried so hard, because Ken hit for retirement a few years ago. And she's like, "Do you understand how wealthy you would be on his retirement here?" And she's been trying for years. And I'm like, because I see a lot of what you go through too, No, I'll stick with the bad here. But yet at the same time, so many people over there love her because she's white. And she'll laugh on the phone and say, "Yeah, they love white people in North Africa, like genuinely." And I've made friends over there with her there. I was on the board of a ministry there for a while. I just resigned 5 months ago, I think it is. I resigned, and I've been on there for 6 years, something like that. Met a lot of great people, um, but you know, she laughed because she says, "Man, people think that white people in America have white privilege." She said, "First off, I never saw it or experienced it, but she said, I can tell you if I've ever experienced white privilege, it was here."
Right.
Right.
And she tells me how they treat her, and she said, uh, kids will line the street when she's on a boat, and they'll be pointing at her saying, "Look at the what's the word for white people?" She'll tell me the word. I can't think of it right offhand. And she's like, "Because they love us." And so, but I've asked some of these people, I said, "Y'all really do love white people there? Like, is my mom being truthful here?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like, we can't stand black Americans. Now they love Ken, but they don't look at Ken like they do a lot of the others. They're looking at what they see on social media, the news, things like that. And they're like, we don't understand that because if they understood the history of slavery and all this stuff that they're so mad about, they couldn't act like they do. We understand history. We know our role in it. We understand what happened. And so they don't view us that way. But it's changing in Uganda to some extent. When Biden came into office, my mom was in the process of adopting a little girl that she's had since she was 6 months old. And that's come pretty much to a screeching halt because my mom is still an American citizen. And right now, the government over there does not want to take any chances that she's going to come back here. So she's got to get her Ugandan citizenship and basically tell them, I won't go back.
Right.
If I adopt her, I will stay. Because the Biden administration really, really damaged our reputation with them. And that's what all of them are telling me is, over there, it's homosexuality is still illegal over there. They don't, that's not okay.
Right.
Um, of course, there's gay people, but they really have to keep it hush hush and in the closet. Um, just the BLM stuff that was going on and all that. They're like, we don't understand. They're like, we don't get what's happening over there. So a lot of what I'm hearing from a lot of the Ugandans that I talk to is that Uganda is starting to change how they view America. And they're really hoping that Trump can turn it around because they were like, y'all were kind of like our light. Y'all were the beacon of hope for the world. And, you know, they don't have much use for America after what they saw, from the Biden admin. So it's changed some. And my mom has suffered some consequences for being American over there with some people. But like I said, that's not all of them. But, she had three men break into her house and one man, cut her face with a machete. You remember that, Carl?
Yep.
When that happened, and the little girl she was adopting was in the house and they ransacked her house and stuff. And, nothing was really done about it. Police were called, but didn't go anywhere. She's had quite a bit happen.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, I know things happen here in America, but I haven't had anybody break in my house and cut my face with a big old machete.
No.
For me being American here,
Right.
she's had other things happen, and I'm like, no.
But we're going to switch topic here and go to, you see where they caught the devil of the Ozark, that sheriff that escaped from the prison down there. Did you see where they caught him?
Briefly.
Yeah. They captured him a few miles away from where he escaped from. And then this one up in Washington, this Travis Walker that killed his three daughters, suffocated them. Last report I heard just before the show went on, they're in an area. Some people thought they seen him because he was avoiding a lot of people up there. It's like 15 miles away from the area where he killed them. So they've got the Marines up there, they've got National Guard up there, they've got the Highway Patrol, police, everything searching the area to find him and stuff. But yeah, those two big manhunts and everything. And then they're still looking for what? One or two of the ones from New Orleans that escaped. And one of them even put a video out showing stuff. And I was like, are you an idiot or what?
Yeah, I have to look more into that. I thought they had been caught.
Not
They
all
haven't
of them.
been
Not
caught?
all
Okay.
of them. There's
Okay.
either one or two of them that they
Okay.
haven't caught, but things are getting crazy. I mean, the prison escapes, the riots, you know, look at what we haven't heard in the news in the last 2 or 3 weeks. No planes have crashed. We had that series of weeks there where planes were crashing every day.
Right.
Now you're not hearing about anything crashing because we got all this stuff going on with these riots. And of course, what's going on with Trump and Elon and everything. It's a mess.
Yeah. I think that's kind of ridiculous. And I've heard so many people's opinion on the Trump and Elon stuff. And to me, I think it's unnecessary. Um, I've heard people say basically there really isn't an issue. It's just kind of like a front thing they're doing. And I've heard other
I
people say
think it's a political ploy.
each other. And I'm like, for what purpose? It's ridiculous and unnecessary.
Yeah.
I one I don't want people playing games,
No.
and I think but that's my point, Bill. If there's not, then it's ridiculous to be doing this. And it really frustrates me because
Right.
there's enough chaos and stuff going on. Why purposely add more to it? I can't find any good that is going to come out of it.
No. There's
You
nothing good that's going to come out of it. All it is good gossip for the media to make stories up on it. That's what it boils down to.
But
Yeah.
for what end game? I mean, the media is going to talk about Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, independents who voted for Trump. It doesn't matter what your affiliation is; they're going to have stories anyway. So
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of any reason, Bill, honestly.
No.
And there's not a reason that Trump or Elon is going to be able to give me that's going to make me say, "Oh, I get it." No, it just makes us look chaotic and stupid and petty. It makes us look like two children fighting on the internet. I mean, that's what my two kids do. My 8-year-old and 5-year-old go at it.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I stand behind Trump, this is one of those things that I don't stand behind. And I think he's a blooming idiot to be doing this on the internet. I don't see anything good. And that's my opinion. If
Yeah.
this is all, like you're saying, Bill, nothing going on, then there's no purpose in it other
Right.
than
There's no
this just
purpose in
being
either
stupid.
one of them putting it on there.
Yeah. There's nothing anybody's going to say to me that's going to make me think there's any good reason
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
I, it's just ridiculous. If they're still working together behind the scenes, just work together and tell everybody to kiss your brown starfish, basically. You know, I it I don't know. There's just too much turmoil and chaos.
There's a purpose,
My
Bill
opinion.
says. There might be, but right now, if there is, it'll come out and we'll see what it is. But right now, I
It
don't
would be
see any
really
purpose.
good to change my opinion.
Right.
And I don't foresee that. Right now I don't care what the purpose is. I think it's absurd.
It is.
I want to take my flip flop and beat the crud out of both of them and tell them to stop acting like
Yeah.
my two children who,
Grow up and get on with it,
yeah,
and stuff. Trump's got his hands full with everything going on anywhere, all over the world, and in this country right
yeah,
now. Concentrate on that, you know. push it through what needs to be pushed through in the House and Senate, and let's get things rolling.
You know, I've heard people say, not just you, Bill, that it's that there's nothing going on, and people saying, "Oh, it's a distraction to get other people looking over here at that, so they don't see what they're doing." You know, you've got the majority. Do you really need the distraction?
There's enough distractions out there
You
right
got the,
now.
you got the electoral vote. You got the popular vote. Basically, you've got the mandate to do what you're going to do.
That's right.
I don't know. I just don't see the purpose in needing a distraction for anything. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they could pull something up that would change my mind. I'm not saying 100%, but right now I'm like 99%
Mm.
going to happen.
Yeah, I was a little
Then
bit.
there's really no point in it.
No,
Bill, you're just sending me more down the path I'm on. Yeah, I don't know. Um, Bill, I had a question though. You said earlier in your comments, um, they are talking about the light skinned black people. I'm lost. I went through the whole comments and I'm confused on who they are because you're talking about North Africa and South Africa at different times. And then your comment just says they. So who's they? And like clarify for me. Sorry, I meant to ask that back when I saw the comment
you're right.
put up. Oh, and I want to write that this is this Lewis Hearns website. Hold on. Bill, I will look this guy up in California and message you. I mean, I'll trust if you say he's a good guy that he is, but that's why I'd like to look into him a little bit more. They don't like black Americans at all.
Right.
They don't like the dark skin, the medium skin, the light skin. They do not like black Americans. It's not just the light skin.
Right.
They don't like black Americans because of the mentality that they see, the victim mentality, the back, you know, years ago from slavery, so we can't succeed today, the crime that they see. You know, the summer of love really put a lot of in their eyes. They do not like them. I've worked in factories with people who came from North Africa, and you better not call them black people. They'll let you know real quick. Oh no, that is referencing Americans. I am from, this country or that country. I'm African. I am not a black person because that's America. And they don't want to be lumped into that. I mean, I've had so many of the Africans I've worked with in these factories set me straight real quick not to mix them up with that because they don't act like them, they don't think like them, and they've never they've never separated it. When I talk on the phone with the Ugandans and all them, even before a board meeting, they would ask, "What's going on in America?" And it's never been the light skinned black people. It is the black people. I mean, they don't have much use for the black Americans here. I mean, I could record some conversations and what they say about them that would blow your mind. Like when I
Mm.
say they have no use for them, they do not have any use for them.
Mhm.
Okay, so in your last comment, you're talking about this Lewis Hearns guy. That's I'm assuming you're jumping back to that. Okay. Um, yeah. I don't know that he has a real chance of winning though, because I think California's been pretty rigged. I mean, they did that recall on Gavin Newsom and that wasn't gonna go anywhere.
No.
Yeah. Even if Lewis Hearns got elected, he would still have to.
Yeah, he's going to deal with a lot
Oh
of it.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's like, we have when people say that they thought Kentucky was a red state, I really don't know how to answer that because we have a Republican, um, legislature and stuff, but we've got a very Democrat governor.
Hmm.
I mean, it says a lot when he was up for consideration for Kamala's running mate.
Right.
Trust me, he's not somebody good. And he just got voted in again. So I never know how to answer that as far as whether Kentucky's blue or red because I don't know how we have voted this guy in once, much less twice.
Yeah, he, that's true, Bill.
Well, he's not a rhino. He's
No.
very Democrat. Like he's never run as Republican. Um, and our state legislators, I don't know that I agree with everything they do, but I know they clash with our governor quite a bit. What I don't like about Kentucky, most states they can meet multiple times a year and pass laws. Ours can only meet one time a year unless the governor calls a special session. And that went on the ballot for us to vote on that they would not be restricted that way. And because here's how it's working. So they meet, and let's say they pass a bill, and then it goes to Bashir's desk. And this actually happened before the election. It went to his desk. Well, Bashir's very Democrat and pretty left leaning. So, what do you think he did with the bill? Vetoed it. Guess where the bill went? Nowhere,
Right.
because their session had ended. They don't meet again for another year.
Right.
So, it went on the ballot that all that would be changed, and they wouldn't be restricted to that one time period for the year. It didn't pass. And part of me says, "Oh my gosh, this had to be rigged." How could Kentucky as a whole? Because Lexington is very Democratic. Um, Louisville is very Democratic. And by the way, people, if you ever come to Kentucky, please do not pronounce Louisville as Louisville because you might get robbed. That is a clear sign you do not live in Kentucky. I always tell people if you're driving through Kentucky, it is Louisville. It's not the correct pronunciation. That's the country bumpkin way we say it here, and you don't want to stop in Louisville and mispronounce it because you might go home without your wallet. But anyway, Louisville is, of course, extremely blue, but pretty much everywhere else is red.
Hmm.
So part of me is like, did we really? Oh, Mitch McConnell, yeah, but I'm talking about like, I'm not talking about them. But I don't know how we ended up with Bashir twice.
Mhm.
I really don't. Especially after COVID. Man, when COVID hit and he locked everything down like he did, and then took his family on a private jet down to Florida to frolic on the beach while telling us he didn't even want us having Thanksgiving dinner outside with loved ones, but if we were going to get together, it had to be outside, and even outside, stay 6 feet apart. And then his family are frolicking on the beach with everybody down in Florida on taxpayer money, and a lot of people were upset. And I thought, oh man, this just ruined him. He's done. No, he got another term. Is it Kentucky inbred? I've heard that. I know there was, especially up in some of the mountainous areas where my mom's family's from.
Where your mom's family's from? Oh,
Well, they were. Well, not my mom's family. I can say there is no inbreeding in my mom's family, but she's from the hills of Kentucky. She was born 6 miles from where Loretta Lynn was born.
oh,
Yeah. And so,
yeah.
back before there were a lot of roads, people really couldn't get anywhere,
No,
So,
they didn't see very many people, so
right. They're going to
yeah.
marry the people that are there. But no, genuinely, I don't know of any inbreeding in my family, but I wouldn't tell you if there was. But I don't know of any. I don't want to know. We've gone back, I think Michael went back 15 generations or so, something like that. So I don't know if he found any inbreeding. He didn't tell me. But no, there is some in Kentucky, but West Virginia. When I lived in Ohio, the street right next to my street, I found out that a husband and wife, well, there were some kids that were friends with my kids and they were playing together. And I found out that the mom and dad, they were first cousins. And I remember because I was running on the ambulance, when I lived up there. And I remember telling my squad captain, I said, man, I said, you hear these stories about Arkansas. When I lived in Texas, it was Arkansas the jokes were about. I said, and then you hear, jokes, depending when I was in Tennessee, they joked about West Virginia and, or no, Kentucky. I said, but it's right here in Ohio. And he said, yeah, and if you live in Ohio, the jokes are about West Virginia. And he said, but I don't understand that because we got first cousins married right here.
Right.
You seem normal. So I don't know. Hey, if you think I seem normal, I'm gonna let you run with that. I don't know. Some people who know me might argue that point, but I'm gonna take that and go with it.
Right. Right.
Um. Oh, that reminds me because we're getting close to time.
Yeah.
Let
We're
me see if
getting
I
to
can remember this. Hold on. I might mess this up. I'm gonna try it anyway, Carl. How do you know the tooth fairy did not come from West Virginia? I'm gonna make some people mad if I get this right.
I don't know what.
Because if the tooth fairy was from West Virginia, she'd be the teeth fairy.
Okay.
That was one of the jokes I learned when I lived in Ohio. So
Oh boy.
when I say that living in Ohio, they ragged on West Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of the first jokes I ever learned. Like
Right.
I said, if you're from West Virginia, I'm sorry, it's not my joke.
Right. Well,
But
folks,
no,
we're going to end the show because we're at the time limit
I was
right
going to
now.
say that about
And
time.
so we want to thank everybody in the chat room for joining us tonight. Always join us here on Tuesday night. Now, Paranormal Pride, Paranormal Nation Radio is on a hiatus for 2 weeks. We'll be back at the end of the month. So check that out and stuff. And Thursday nights, make sure you check out the laser show with Joe and me. We'll be back on again and stuff. A lot of other shows coming on. So just keep an eye on us and we'll see you next week. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bill on message.